Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all good. If you remember these, they were a few videos back. I made some gothic Halloween, shove it all in kind of resin using pink, grey and gold foil. And I actually had enough left over to make a coffin, but I didn't do that on camera. Now I did say in that video that I would be doing the same thing again, but using darker colours, more spooky, more Halloweeny. And in this video, this was the quickest 180 degree turn. I started off with one plan in mind. I was going to go down the purple, black and silver foil route, and within 1 minute of starting to pour the resin, everything went out the window and it all changed. So here I am showing you the black and the purple. I do use the purple, I just don't use the foil or the black, so ignore this little segment. I do, however, use the black alcohol ink by Let's Resin because I fell in love within seconds of pouring, and I will explain exactly what happened. I also use this gorgeous crushed glass that I got from the garden centre. I've also got a ton from eBay, and yeah, works brilliantly. Now I will be using Vista Cascade in this video, but I also want to talk to you about the resin problems that I have encountered in this video and in the last video. Let's go. So as always, I start my videos out by mixing up my resin. I mixed up some purple. Now, I didn't put too much purple mica in. I wanted a little bit of a wispy transparency feel. I also mixed up the black. My plan was to pour some clear resin in as I did in previous videos. Now, I'm not putting any inclusions into these. I'm not shoving anything into these. These are just solely resin and crushed glass. What I'm going to do then is heat out those bubbles with my heat tool and give them a really good blast. Again, I do this much longer than I show you on video because who wants to watch that? Then I moved on to the alcohol ink. I just put sprinkles, and I mean minimal amount, of these crushed glass mirrored pieces into all of the trays. Now I've got the pot, I've got the coffin trinket tray, the coffin box, and I've got the trinket tray, but I didn't want to overdo the glass. I just thought a smidgen, you know, like a little hint of mirror would be a cool effect. Now, sadly, that poor coffin lid does get ignored quite a lot in this video, but I do end up filling it up. I just don't know why I ended up doing it right at the end. But yeah, the actual vessels got the majority of the attention in this video. So here I am dropping the black alcohol ink. Now, my plan is to drop the black alcohol ink and then pour clear over the top of those. I did this last year. I don't know if you were with me last year. I made a whole video on coffins and I used this technique, and I just called it the cloudy, smoky technique. And this is when I remembered it, and I was like, oh, look at these. I love this effect. I think I'm going to continue on with this effect. Out of the window went everything else. I changed my mind within seconds. This is now going to be the spooky, smoky Halloween resin, and that is where it evolved. I didn't even give anything else a chance. I didn't use the foil. I didn't use the black. The black is still sitting there. And here I am. So you drop your alcohol ink onto resin. If you drop your alcohol ink straight onto your silicone mold, you risk it staining your silicone mold, but also not moving. It doesn't really move. I've tried it. You see people do it all the time with like rainbow resin and things like that. Sometimes you get this permanent blob of resin on your silicone mold. So here I am, adding more drops of alcohol ink, pouring on the clear, going back in, adding some more, and this is when I remembered I also had a lid, so I gave some attention to the lid at this point, but the poor thing got neglected. So I just go back on and I do exactly the same thing. I add alcohol ink drops, pour the resin on. Now check this out. It is just stunning. You can get some of the most beautiful wispy, smoky effects. Look at this. It's cobwebby, it's haunted house, It's Halloween in a sandwich. It is absolutely stunning, and I knew that, yeah, nothing else would get used at this point. Just repeat, 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 but don't go too crazy on opaque colours, because then you won't get that smoke from the alcohol ink, which is why I didn't put much mica into that resin. You can kind of see it's very light, very pale. And here I am just filling up the moulds. And I continue that process until all the moulds are full up. Now, I'm just going to talk about resin problems that I've been experiencing the last 2 videos. So you would have seen in the last video, I made some key rings. Now, I demolded them with my gloves on, so I didn't really notice that the backs, the fronts, the clear parts were solid as a rock. It was the back parts. So my brain automatically said, Claire, you've used too much pigment. That is why they're still soft. Now, it only really kind of dawned on me when I was drilling. When I was drilling them, they were still a bit soft, and I thought, okay, you know, it hasn't been 24 hours. Leave them a couple of days, check in on them, because people are asking if they can buy them. Absolutely, yes, you can, but sadly, you can't, because after 2 days, the backs are still soft, and I wouldn't sell anything like that. That made me think, what did I do wrong? What was the error here? Was it human error? Did I put too much pigment in? I always stir my resin for 5 minutes. I set a timer and I stir for 5 minutes, scraping all the edges. Coming off that, just to let you know, this coffin lid sometimes holds air underneath. So just get in there with a cotton bud, run it all the way around and release that trapped air. Otherwise you'll have chunks missing out of your lid. Okay, so my brain was telling me that maybe I added too much pigment. That was the most logical reason for the soft resin. Temperature wise, I had the heating on, my room was warm. I stir, like I said, I always stir for 5 minutes, minimum actually. Instructions say 3, go for 5 just to be safe, because if anything goes wrong, there's a process of elimination. Like, you did this right, maybe I added too much pigment. So I put it out of my head as a mistake. It's a shame I won't be able to sell them. However, these resin pieces in this video have also not cured to the point of solid, and now I'm questioning what else is going wrong. So actually, when I look back to this time last year, my gut feeling is telling me it's the season changing. Okay, we've gone from a nice warm summer. I've been away from the house for 12 days. The house would have plummeted down to degrees of around maybe 15, between 15 and 17 degrees. Our house gets very cold. This could have caused the resin to crystallize. Now, there is a chance that I was using resin that had not properly been decrystallized. And to do that, what you want to do is leave your resin in a bath, a sink of hot water for around about 5 minutes to allow it to come back to pure liquid. Now, it's only really watching this video back and thinking about how cloudy that resin was at the beginning. It took a long while for that resin to clear in the cup. So my brain is telling me that it probably was crystallized. And I am demolding these. It has been around about 22 hours since pouring, and it's only really when I pull out the center of this mold, I'm realizing these are still not 100% rock hard, as they kind of really should be after 22 hours. I've not ever had a problem really with Vista Cascade. The only thing I can think of is the temperatures. The temperatures weren't right and they're struggling. So just bear that in mind if you do ever come across resin that hasn't yet got as solid as it should be. I'm hoping these will go more solid because there's no pigment in there. There's just alcohol ink, and really not enough alcohol ink to deter, you know, to be detrimental to the curing process. But I thought I'd talk about that because I'm not going to be able to sell those alphabet key rings. I'm going to have to use them for something else. Maybe, as my sister suggests, just put them in a box frame and make them look pretty. But yeah, it's just something to bear in mind. Now here I'm using a sheet of polyurethane wrap. I'm putting this between the lid and the pot because these coffins are notorious for the lids not fitting properly. but this is an easy way to get it to fit and keep it there until it's fully cured. But check these out. I mean, I am obsessed with these. Let me know your thoughts. They came out exactly as I thought they would in my head because I did a coffin in this style last year. I love the transparency, that hint of mirror, the hint of the crushed glass, and they are smoky. They are haunted house smoky. I absolutely love them. Now, you can see some alcohol ink on my finger there. I was thinking, where did that come from? But it hasn't come from the resin, so my guess is there was some on the table and I touched it. It's definitely cured in the resin, but these are just a little bit softer than they should be after this time, you know. Yeah, what to do? Absolutely stunning. I love them all. Again, I will have to keep them unless they cure perfectly solid. Then I won't be able to sell them. I'm going to give them another few hours, and hopefully, fingers crossed, they will lose their softness. They're not soft, they're just a little bit bendy. They're not rock hard. But you can definitely see some air bubbles in here. I need to work on that for sure. Actually heating your resin up helps with the air bubbles as well. If you didn't know, you can put your resin in a hot bath just before you use it, and that will also help diminish air bubbles. But I'm just in love with the spookiness of these. I just love them, and that glass is just gorgeous. I love mirrored glass in resin. It just gives it a little something. And that tray definitely looks like somebody has blown smoke. Oh my gosh, I love the coffin so much. I love the coffin. These molds are really cheap, guys. They bow out. You can see the bottom of this is bowed out, but it doesn't take away from the top. It doesn't take away from the function of it. It's still a perfectly usable box. But yeah, I just love it. Look at this. It's so spooky. Let me know what colours you would choose. Let me know what you think of the video. You would have seen I used the black in leftovers and just filled up all of those molds because, like I say, you never know when you are going to need it. Definitely recommend doing that. And here they are all together. I love them. Fingers crossed they cure properly. I'm going to, like I said, give them another few hours, and in the future I will make sure that I put my resin in a bath of hot water, especially in this weather. It is now getting cold in the UK, and I do remember last October people messaging me last October telling me that they were having problems with the resin I was using at the time. I wasn't using Vista Cascade last September, October. But yeah, it's definitely a thing to watch out for if you are in the UK and the weather is now changing. Just bear this in mind, that your resin might start to play up like this has. And fingers crossed, the next video will be perfectly perfect. I will take everything into consideration and make sure that everything goes to plan. Even though these turned out gorgeous. Just, guys, keep your fingers crossed for me that in the next few hours I come back and they are as solid as a rock, because I'm obsessed. Thank you so much if you have lasted this long. It was a long video. It's 13 minutes. So thank you. I appreciate you all. And I will see you in the next one. Oh, gosh, I love them. Don't forget to leave me a comment as well, guys, because I do reply to everybody. And yeah, I'll see you then. Bye.